All right, so everyone, welcome to this wonderful session where we're going to be talking about how to write effective user requirements. And I'm just going to walk you through my 4-step process along my plans and how I do my own things. And it's really worked for me. So before we start, I'm just going to monitor the chat for a bit. There are quite a lot of people on the call today. We have about 34 people, and we're streaming live on Facebook as well. So where are you all coming from? If you just type in where your location, it'll be good. So at least I know, because there are some familiar faces and there are some new faces as well. So London, good. Manchester, okay. London, nice. Warsaw, France, wow. Dartford, Maryland, Kent, London. We've got lots of people from London, Birmingham, Dallas, Texas, London, Derby. Good. Oh, someone's in Nigeria. Yes, you get the network, you get the recording at the end of the session. Sittingbourne. All right, good stuff. That's lots of people from different parts of the country, which is great. All right, thanks everyone. Bristol, wow, good stuff. So here's what I'm going to try and cover today for most of us. Port Harcourt. So welcome all of you. It's good to see that you're all coming from different places, and it's great to have you all here join me. So today what I'm going to be doing is 4 key things. The first one is I'm going to teach you as much as I can, given the time we have, and then let some of you go, and then show you how you can get to becoming very good with your requirements, elicitation, and writing skills, and allow you to ask as many questions as possible in that time. I'll try to keep it to an hour, but I'll apologize in advance if we, sort of extend beyond the 1 hour mark. I hope I have your permission to do that. So is it fair? What I've said so far, is it a fair plan that we have for today?
Yes.
So let me ask you a quick question. How many of you on this call today are BAs? Whether you're practicing, you're new BA, you've got years of experience, I want you to type 1 in the chat so that I know who's the new BA. And if you're not a BA at all, and this is for you an opportunity to sort of see what BAs do, I want you to type 2. This is not a BA. Okay, I'm getting 1s. 1s for BAs, 2 for no BAs. Okay. It looks like a 50-50 so far. 1.5. 2, 1, 1. Okay, so it looks like an even split, between the BAs and the non-BAs. So that's not bad. So hopefully what we get out of today will be relevant to both the non-BAs and the BAs. So the idea is I'm going to make it as simplistic as possible. And I need the BAs to forgive me for that, because you might be hearing things you probably know about, so that the non-BAs can also benefit from, this step. Because what you need to know is that as a BA, or going into that journey to become a BA, you'll need to learn about requirements. You need to learn how to document requirements, how to write them. And you keep, what most people hear about before they become BAs, the things along the lines of all you do is write requirements. Well, true and not very true. There's a lot of work that happens before you get to write a requirement. And so I'll be sharing just that step. It's a condensed step for a 1-hour program and how you can do that. So let me just tell you a quick story, right? I don't know. Do you know that feeling when you want something so bad? Sometimes maybe it's because of what you're going to get out of it. And sometimes it could be because of what you become as a result of that thing. For some people, it might be because you want to earn good money as BAs. Without any doubt, BAs earn a lot of money. And for some, it could be that, it's the passion. I feel it in my bones. I've watched YouTube videos. I've heard people talk about business analysis, how much they earn. But I also see what they do. And I think I have that passion in me. If only I know how to do it or how to get in there, then I might end up being a very good BA and making that money. And some of you will say you have the BA blood flowing through, flowing through your body. And you just need to be honest. Some of it is just the money, the money aspect. But if you relate with that short story, I just want you to type relate. I relate with it, because I've gone through that phase myself. So how many of you relate with that? Yeah, Toyin? Yeah. Yeah, I can see people saying they relate to that story. And I think for most of us, it's the money first, and then the joys of doing the job that is challenging, rewarding, and helps us to grow, right? Yeah, shall I relate? Yep, yep. That's good. So I'm going to tell you another story, right? And I'm thinking you guys would probably relate with this as well. So for me, I started, this is a story, a little bit of story about myself. I started at Ogun State University, and I think I've got one or two people from Ogun State University. I studied accounting degree, and I came down to the UK to do my master's. Some of you are here in the UK, to study, and then you start a life after that. Some of you in the United States probably did the same as well, and some of you is just relocating with family to work. And so for most of us, we came here to study, do our masters. And at some point, I wanted to be an accountant. Honestly, that was all that was at the back of my mind. And so I was looking for jobs in accounting. But as a student, when you get your first job, you usually don't know what you don't know. So you see a customer service job, you jump on it. You see a job that has to do with maybe working in a warehouse, you jump on it. You see a job, there was a time I even did a driving job, back in Southampton. You'll do whatever helps you get across, make a bit of money as a student. So I did that. Fast forward 4 years after that, got married, had my kids, and I still wanted to do work in finance because I thought finance was everything. After all, I studied I had a BSc in finance and my master's was in management and finance. And so I started applying for jobs, in different organizations. One of them was JP Morgan, another one was Barclays, but, I wanted to do finance or be a finance analyst. I ended up doing finance, but it was a finance administrator, which is a glorified word for a bookkeeper, right? It's a respectable job as well, but it's not the same. And so one day I stumbled on a friend who told me about business analysis and showed me how much he was earning. That was years ago. I was like, no, come on, that's not true. You're lying. Nobody earns that kind of money. And fast forward, I found a way, did the BSc training course, got my BCS, or rather BCS, got my BCS stuff, and I started learning to do BA within my role as a finance administrator. I took ownership of their systems. I started mapping processes, started doing a lot of things for them in that organization. And then I got my break. And when I got my break, it was a job that gave me £500 per day. Now, I'm not kidding you. When I got my first end of the month salary, I almost ran mad because I had never seen that kind of money before, in 1 month. Because my salary as a finance administrator was really small. And from that point onwards, I never looked back again. And today, we're all here because there's something we all want to learn. We all want to be BAs. All of you related with the story of having, making that money that BAs make and having BAs flowing through your bloodstream. And I think, you're all on the right path. I'm very biased about BA. If you tell me you want to do anything else in this world, I'll say start with BA, and BA will help you to become what you want to become. So fast forward now, I'm a BA, and, I've worked with a lot of organizations in the UK. Some of the organizations, some of you will know about them. I've worked with Vodafone, Department for Education, Talk Group, Direct Line Group, but I've gone beyond that. And I'm at the point where I also have my own businesses now, providing IT services to organizations in the UK. And I also have a digital transformation consultancy. But I've realized that there's a lot more joy in being able to share what you know that got you there with others so that they follow the right path. Especially most of us that are moving into a country that we don't know about or planning to move into a country that we know about. And some of us that even live here, that don't even know that there's another opportunity. And so what I've done is I've helped quite a lot of BAs, or people wanting to be BAs, and they put in the effort, they worked hard, they listened, they learned, and most of them, are doing very well. If I talk about one of them, Frank, for those of us who know Frank, Frank today is working as a business analyst. And before he became a business analyst, he was doing some other jobs. He's based in the US, and I think in New York. And, one of the things he said was, Tony has been able to help. And some things that I did for him was got him through a particular training program, helped him with his CV and all of those things. And he got very good roles. And then we also have Dola. Dola might even be on the call today. And she came from the legal background and, she put in the effort and all of those things. And today she's a BA and she's reaping the reward. And that's what I want for all of you today, that are not yet BAs. I could see an even split 1 and 2. And so, because I want you all to stay and listen to the training that I have today, I want to try to encourage you to stay, until the end of the training. And so I'm going to give you a bit of bribe to ensure you stay. get your notes, your jotting pads, your pen, everything, get them out because there'll be lots to write. And for you to stay, here's my bribe for you. Okay. At the end of today's session, I'm going to show you how you can get a question bank that you can use for requirement elicitation. After all, elicitation is all about getting what's in people's heads out and putting it down and making it structured. And it's all about asking the right question. When you ask the right question, you get the right answer. So at the end of the session, I'm going to give, I'll tell you how to get that. But I'm also going to do one thing at the end of the session. I'm going to tell you how to get a business analysis interview guide. Now, a lot of my students have used this guide to help themselves during interview process, and it's really helped them. So I'm going to give, for those of you that are not my students, I'm going to give it to you, and I'll tell you how you're going to get that. So now that we've got this out of the way, who's ready for the training? Type in ready.
I'm ready.
Awesome. I like that.
Ready.
Good. So let's jump right in. Now, I want to meet all of you where you are. So Timmy says, let's go. I want to meet all of you where you are, right? So what I want to do before we start is I really want to understand what you know about requirements. You don't need to write anything elaborate. You can go off mute and just tell me what you know about. In fact, for those that are not BAs, right? I want you to just go off mute and tell me what you know about requirements in a very short sentence. Nothing elaborate. Wish list, good. Who else?
Requirement is where the business or company is trying to get to a new position from where they currently are to upscale themselves.
Excellent. That's correct. Someone else says expectation. Someone else says goal. Someone says needs, wants. See, gather requirements, needs. So all of you are right. Needs, exactly. That's another thing I remember. Then Lara says needs as well. So all of you are correct. When you're talking about requirements, the easy way to put it is it's a statement of want. So people want something, right? And they have to be able to tell you what it is that they want. But your job as a BA is not just taking down what they want, is hearing them, structuring it. Sometimes they don't even know what they completely want. They have this big wish list, as someone said. And it's your job as the BA to be able to get that wish list into a structured statement. So I can say, for example, I want a door that flies or a car that flies. Well, what does that mean? It might be simple, a car that flies, but for you to get to the point of a car that flies, you need to understand how, things that will make that car fly. And maybe when you say fly, you don't really truly mean flying in the sky. You mean a car that can drive at 200 miles per hour from 0 to 5 seconds. Who knows? But their job as a BA is to be able to get that statement of want. And so when I go through a process and I'm trying to elicit requirements, I'm trying to understand what requirements is all about. I'm trying to write requirements down. I go through a 4-stage process. And my 4-stage process is very simple. Nothing elaborate. The first one is I will try to elicit what that requirement is. So I'll be talking about all these things in more detail. And then the next thing is I break down the requirement. I try to make sense of that requirement. Because remember, when you're taking requirements from people, it's a conversational requirement. You're asking people for things. Some people might have a list and they'll just give it to you, but it's not always the case. Especially if you're a BA or you're going to be a BA, you need to be aware that it's not going to be the case that somebody will have a list and they'll just give it to you. And so when you get that requirement, another name for elicit requirements might be obtain. What I don't want to use is to gather. A lot of people use gather requirements, and the reason why I don't use gather is because you're not just going to pack it somewhere. Okay, and so obtain the requirements, and then we analyze it. And then the third thing I do is I write it down. But there's more than just writing down the requirements. There's a way to go about writing down your requirements. And when you finish doing all of that wonderful job, you need to validate the requirement. Because if I tell you I want a car that flies, and you just go and draw a car that flies, and you come back to meet me, and what I really want is a car that moves fast, and you put wings on the car. When you come back to validate that requirement, with me, I'm going to say, no, you got it wrong. That's not what I was talking about. So let's talk about this elicitation, or obtaining information. It looks like somebody preferred a different name. So when we're talking about elicitation or obtaining information, what you're really doing, is you are using your ability as a BA with different techniques to obtain that relevant information from someone or a group of people. Relevant information, don't forget that word. And when you do that, so your group of people could be stakeholders, they could be your stakeholders, they could be users, they could be customers, it could even be regulatory. And so when you obtain that information from them, you want to be able to organize your requirements or the statements or whatever you've obtained from them. Let me use wish list, just to make it clear for those that are non-BAs. When you obtain that wish list from your stakeholders, you want to be able to structure it. You want to put it in a way that it starts to make sense to you. Because if you think about it, if you're joining an organization or you're joining a project and someone starts to give you a wish list of 1,001 things, you might struggle with the concept of what they're trying to put in front of you. And so your job as a BA really is to find a way to organize it in the first place in a way that makes sense to you. And then when you're able to organize it in a way that makes sense to you, you can perhaps present it back to them, so that they can help you to make better decision on that requirement that you've obtained. And what I mean by that is when you're able to structure your requirements in a way that makes sense to you, and you take it back to them and you say, so we spoke about these things, or I got this list from you, and these are the things I'm looking at, but this is what I've come up with. I've sort of restructured everything in a way that makes sense to me. Can you confirm? At that point, you have the first opportunity to get it right before you go and do a lot of work on that piece of work, or a lot of work on the statements or things they've sent to you. And so when you learn how to do all of this during the elicitation stage or the obtaining stage, then it makes your life a lot easier. But why is it important for us to really learn how to get these requirements from people, to obtain these requirements? It's important because, the first thing that you're able to do when you get requirements, when you obtain your requirements, is it helps you to remove any form of confusion. And when you are removing any form of confusion before you hand over requirements to people that will do work with it, it allows them to focus on what's important and to do what's right. And that way you're adding value to the business. And then the other thing that, it helps you to do is, earlier I said some people have the requirements in their head. They're not just going to give you a list. But when you're able to obtain the right information using the right technique, what happens is the things that reside in people's head, like I want a car that flies, the unhidden requirements might be I want a car that can move fast. And so when you go through the process, the motion, you're able to then find out what those hidden requirements are, or assumed requirement, because sometimes people don't give you the full picture. And so you fill up that gap with lots of assumptions. And so when you fill that gap up, you still want to take back the assumption back to the people that have provided you with the information to check. So because the last thing you want to do is just sit down on an assumption and make a mistake. And the final thing, that requirement helps you to do is, for those who are going to work on that requirement, for example, maybe your developers, or maybe even the organization that is going to, maybe you're implementing a process change or a transformation project within an organization, and you're changing the way people work. For those people that will do the work, when you get the right requirements, what happens is you help them to focus on the functionality. You help them to focus on the real thing that needs to be done, rather than focusing on the flowery information that has been provided to you that maybe doesn't really make sense at the end of the day. I've said I want a fast car. I keep using the flying car as an example. I said I wanted a flying car. It could be that I've said within my flying car, I want the tires to be able to change to metal tires, during snow, and rubber tires during the summertime. Now, if you don't help me to focus my attention on what I want, which is a car that moves fast and have the ability to change the structure of the tire to adapt to the different weather conditions, then those who are going to develop that car for me might get it wrong, because all they have is a car that flies. And so rather than put the right type of tires to the car, they're putting your typical tire that probably won't work during the cold winter time, especially if I'm living in places like Canada, or those of you that live in very cold places, that you need to change the tires of your car, so that your cars can adapt to the road. And so it helps people to focus on the functionality of what the car does, right? And once you are able to do all of those things, you start to help the next process for what you'll be doing, which will be the analysis part. But before we go to the analysis part, I just want to check with, temperature check with everyone so far, because some of us are new to business analysis. And so I don't want to assume that you completely understand what I'm saying. So let me do a quick temperature check. If you're with me and so far you understand what I've been saying, I want you to put 1 in the chat. I just need to get to know who needs extra. Okay, 1, 1, 1, 1. Beautiful. So far everyone understands where I am. Okay, that's good. Excellent. I'm seeing lots of ones, so I feel happy that there are lots of ones there. All right, so let's talk about the analysis work you do as a BA that helps you through that journey. So this is the next step to writing your requirements. So when we talk about analysis, and if you know this, I want you to just explain to me. Go off mute. What do you understand as analysis? You can type it in, or you can go off mute and just quickly tell me. It doesn't have to be a big sentence. I just want to gauge where you are so I can meet you there. Description, good. Who else? For the BAs in the house, maybe one of you can talk so that you give the non-BAs a bit of understanding, and I'll proceed with that. Can one of the BAs just say something?
Yeah, so this is like when you're checking the requirements for correctness and competence, kind of.
All right, good stuff. Thank you very much. I can see someone else has said examination. I can see Ada said reviewing the information. Kenny says breaking it down. Kenny says breaking down stuff in a simple language. Excellent, excellent. You're all doing very well. See, my BAs in the house are very experienced. Well done. So when we talk about analysis, all of you are correct. Understanding the information, that's another thing I remember. Studying nature of something, that's correct. That's correct. That's Toya as well. So when we talk about analysis, what we're really saying is your ability to focus on taking that elicited or the obtained information, right, that is unstructured, and refining it. And when you're refining it, you're using a systematic way to refine that information, to break the information down, to make sense of it, just like some of you are saying. So you're using a structured approach to do that. Remember, when you get this information from people, it's usually conversational. It's in a few cases that you'll get a wish list. And even when you do have the wish list, you still have to, make sense of that wish list. You have to be able to put a structure around it. And when you put a structure around it and you use a systematic way to get that structure and to get a better understanding, to make sense of the requirements you've obtained, you can then use that to facilitate decision making. And when we say decision making, we're still talking about the end product. Remember when we talked about what requirement was or what it means? There's an end goal, there's an outcome or an output that is expected at the end of it. So when you facilitate decision making, you can use your analysis to break down, to structure it, and use a systematic process to then enable that decision to be made. So let me just walk you through a bit of the journey that you go through when you're analyzing requirements. So when you're analyzing requirements that you've obtained from your stakeholder, you want to first, your first attempt to structuring the requirements, or to breaking it down, or to making sense of it, just like some of you have said, is probably to use a model or a concept. And when you use a concept, what you're trying to do is to help you paint a picture of what this person or this group of people are trying to achieve. Remember, a picture says 1,000 words. I think that's the way they said it. And when you paint that picture, what you're trying to identify within your picture that you've painted is who the people are that are going to consume or utilize the end product, what they're going to be doing with the end product, the information that they're going to be passing through the end product, right? And then when you do that, you're not just establishing what they want at the end of the day, but you're establishing the people who want it, what the product looks like, how they're going to use the product, what information they are going to pass through the product. I think, one way to look at it is people, process, information, technology, or tools or systems. And when you model it, you're starting to think along those lines, using a systematic approach to help you get a better sense of that or those requirements that you've obtained. And then the next thing is, somebody said, or I think a few of you said breakdown, and you're correct. Part of what you do with your requirements is after you've built a concept around it to get a better picture of what it's all about, you then want to break it down into smaller components. Because remember, some of your requirements might be very vague, some of them might be huge, some of them might be small. But to make sense of it, you need to be able to break it down into the smaller components. So what you're doing with that is you're splitting requirements that you have. So let's talk about my car, for example, my car that can fly. When you're looking at the requirement for a car that can fly, remember I said it's not a car that has wings, but a car that can move fast. You're going to be looking at, okay, what shape is that car going to be? What sort of shape are we going to use to build that car? Think aerodynamics. What's the steering going to look like? Some of you might not be car lovers here, but I like my cars. What's the steering going to look like? When the car is moving at a particular speed, what needs to happen within the car to ensure that everyone inside remains safe? And what needs to happen within the engine to ensure that it can withstand the capability of the new speed or the pressure that you're putting on it? So you are breaking them down into the smaller components. And when you're able to do that, the next thing you want to do is obviously assign importance, because it's not everything that is going to be very important. So you need to identify the things that are very important, and then the next level down and the next level down. And the reason why you do all of this is it helps you to know the things that without them, my car will not be delivered. Now, if I said I want a car that actually flies into the sky, it could be that it needs wings to fly, right? And having a wing would have been one of those requirements. And without the wing, the car will not be able to fly. But I'm looking at a car that moves very fast. And so I need to start assigning importance to each of the different requirements that I've already captured. And this is all part of what you do when you're analyzing it. And then when you go through this whole 3 approach of modeling it and breaking it down and assigning importance, you want to take it back to people and present it to them. And when you're presenting it to them, there's a lot of things you're trying to do or achieve with the presentation. The first thing you want to achieve is to be sure that this is still what you're looking for. You need them to confirm it. And then the other thing you want to do is you get people to say, yes, we're happy with the final product. We're going to sign off on that product so that people can develop Toyin's car, right? And then the other thing you want people to be able to do is, because of the models you would have used or the concept, you give them an idea of what the end product would look like. Now, remember, when you model something, it doesn't necessarily mean that the end product will be exactly what you've modeled, but it gives those people who want that end product an idea of what their end product could look like. And so when you're done with, getting your requirements, structuring it, breaking it down, and putting it in the right way, what really needs to happen is you need to now create your own documentation of that requirement, because someone will need to take a piece of document and use it to do the next step or use it to create something. So basically, you have to specify all of these things. So I've gone to my stakeholders, I've modeled it, I've maybe even use a process map, for example, to model things, and then, or a concept diagram, and then I've broken it down in a way that makes sense. I've helped the stakeholders to then analyze those things and prioritize those things, assign importance to it, and I've taken them through a work down. Now, there needs to be a document, a formal document that they are going to see and sign off on. Or those who are going to develop against that document or develop against the requirement, they need to see it somewhere. They need to see it documented, right? So that they can use it. And that way they can always refer back to the requirements if things go wrong. So that brings me nicely to documentation. And so when you're talking about requirement documentation, what we're really looking at is your structured approach to writing the obtained requirements so that you can manage it or people can manage it. It can be tracked. You can see what people are doing against the requirements if they are going off track, and you can use it to deliver the end value. And when things go wrong, even after the system or the process has been developed, you can always go back to check where the mistake was if there is ever an error. And that's what documentation really helps you to do. And documentation is very important because, it helps you to enhance communication between the project teams. So when you have a document that people are looking at, people can actually say, yes, I can see what you mean. I can see what you're saying. I understand what this means, right? And people can have conversations around it. Should we do it like this? Should we do it like that? Maybe we need to change the priority you've assigned to this because there's a way that we can fulfill that same thing using something else that exists. So you can help people to have conversations that are required to be able to help you get to the end product. And then it can also help you to make sure that everything that you've documented, all the requirements that you've put together, they are consistent with what you want to achieve. There's no point you saying you want a car that flies. I keep using the car, so forgive me. There's no point you saying you want to have a car that flies, and your requirement starts talking about a scooter, a two-wheel car, or a car that only has seating for maybe one person. It's not consistent with what you're looking to achieve at the end of the day. And so when I see a document, I know that you don't want a scooter, you don't want a bike, you want a car. And you don't want just any car. You want a car that can go from 0 to 280 miles per hour or kilometer per hour in 5 seconds, right? That's what documentation helps you to do. And then it also helps you to validate the accuracy of the information that is in there. So that way you can get all the business people together that need the requirements. You can get your stakeholders together. If it's regulatory authorities, you can get them together. And the idea is you want to make sure that they can validate the information that you've documented for them. Because if you think about it, when you have an information that is not validated, what are the chances that there could be lots of errors and mistakes in there or even incorrect information provided? But by the time you validate it, and those who gave you the requirements are saying, yes, this is what we said. Yes, this is the priority we've given it. Yes, this is the criteria we're giving you to make sure that the requirement does what it needs to do. They can't come back after you've delivered my car that moves from 0 to 180 and say, no, that's not what I asked for. You have the document to show that you validated it. And in normal office words or parlance, what you hear is cover your back. And having a documentation allows you to do that. It's just that it goes beyond you just covering your back. It goes to the point of you getting your stakeholders to say, yes, we're happy with what we have. This is what we really want. And then the next thing is that, it allows you to describe what the solution to do. It allows you to help your stakeholder define what done looks like, the acceptance criteria. It allows those who need to test the functionality of the product that has been delivered to have something they can look at and say, we've tested it and it does this. So that's correct. Or we've tested it and it's not able to do this. What do we do next? So when we talk about documentation, it's also important to talk about how you document requirements, the format, the layout that you use to document requirements. And I think this is where a lot of you might be familiar with some words that, I'll be talking about. So there are 3 ways primarily to document your requirement. The first one is your requirement statement. And when you're talking about requirement statements, it's a simple way to write your requirements without adding any ambiguities to it. And when you look at documenting requirements as a requirement statement in a requirement statement format, right? An example would be something along the lines of the customer shall be able to add an item to the shopping cart. It's simple. You're not going to get it wrong. The customer wants to be able to do one thing and one thing only, add an item to the shopping cart. And so when we talk about, the previous sections, when we talked about your analysis, you need to be able to break down your requirement to the point that you can get, your detail to be very little so that people know that it's this one tiny item that we're creating and we can do that. Versus when you have multiple ambiguous or confusing statements that will get people thinking, what the heck are you talking about here? What is the business trying to achieve? So your job as the BA is also to know how to do that. Now, we don't always use a requirement statement. If you work in organizations that follow the agile methodology, right, they have a different way for documenting the same type of requirement, and they call it the user story. And so when you're looking at user story, what you're trying to see is how the user will carry out a particular action, what it means for the user. So you're looking at what the user wants to do, the benefit of doing that, or who the user is. So your user could be different people. It could be a customer, it could be an administrator, it could be anybody, but you'll need to be able to define who that user is so that when they are working on that particular document, they have no doubt, who they are doing this thing for, who they are creating something for. And so that goes, your user story usually go along the line of, as an online customer, that's the person, the user, I want to be able to add an item to the shopping cart. That's what they're trying to do, so that I can pay for my purchases. That's the benefit of what they're trying to do, or the why behind what they are trying to do. So each of these statements that you can see, the requirement statement and the user story, they have a format, a structure that they follow. So remember, we said your writing requirements will follow a structured format. And there are lots of structured ways for writing requirements. And the first one was the requirement statement, and the other one is the user story. Now, these things look easy, but they're not necessarily simple to write. You have to go through a process. And that process, remember, is breaking down things, extracting information, and checking that it's the right information. And then the third one, which is not always used, but a lot of technical organizations will use it. I have a question there. Is it safe to say that a user story is the requirement document for Agile? So not requirement documents, is the requirement format that is used in an Agile environment. Almost every Agile environment will use user stories to document their requirements. Okay. So the third one, and that's a good question. Thanks for asking. The third one is what they call the use case description, right? And use case descriptors really, it's almost like you're looking at the use case for something and breaking it down. And so when you're looking at the use case for how I'm going to drive my flying car, as an example, I need to go through that process of the requirements and what it will do, or the steps that I'll use to achieve that requirement. And use case descriptor is used to achieve that. So when you're looking at an example of a use case descriptor, your main event or the main step, you have to go through steps, might be, I want to rent a car, right? So the main step might be rent a car. Well, in fact, this is just an example, so don't quote me on that. There will be a main step, there will be an alternate step, and then there will be an exception. And in your main step, you'll have lots of steps required to achieve the stated goal or the end goal. So if rent a car is the main, event, it could be provide your driver's license, provide the money, provide everything you need, and then rent the car, right? And then you might then have the alternate step. And the alternate step might be, maybe the car you want, the flying car, is not available. And so you're going to buy a limousine or something, if it's going to achieve the same purpose. And what you're going to do might then be, what's the step required? And then if none of those things are available, you're unable to rent your car, that creates an exception. And in that scenario, where you're looking at the exceptions, what needs to happen if every other thing fails? So just looking at this, you can see why it's not all the time that you find organizations, use the use case descriptor, because it's lengthy, it's extremely detailed. But it's a good idea to know what it looks like, because you might come into an organization whereby one of the things they do is to write the requirements, and they use the use case descriptors to write the requirements. So you need to be aware of that and aware of, what that means. But for majority of us BAs, we're probably not even going to do that in our entire career. Unfortunately, I'm one of those that has done the use case descriptors, and I've had to use all three requirement formats. So a quick question from all of you, especially those that are BAs. Have you used any other requirement documentation format before? You can put yes in the chat. I'm just trying to gauge what some of you might have used before to document requirement. Use cases, yeah? Anyone else? So use cases is a good one. You can do use cases, but on the back of the use cases, you actually will still have to create your use case description, for some organizations. So, okay, let's move. Use case diagram, BRD. Okay, business requirement. BRD is business requirement documents for those that are looking at the chat. So let's talk about the next step, which is your validation, right? Requirement validation. Now, the goal of your requirement validation really is to verify. I get use case. Okay, so Kenny says he's used use case before. Oh, that's good. So you must have worked in a very technical organization then for you to have done the use case. So the goal of your requirement validation really is to verify and confirm that the requirement represents the customer's desired solution. It's as simple as that, right? Now, while I say it's as simple as that, the work required to go through a validation is a lot. It's detailed, because you are getting people to say, yes, this is what we've done, and this is going to help us achieve our end goal. But there's a lot of work involved. Okay, there's a question there that says, can swim lanes and process flows be used too? So you can do your process flow on swim lanes, right? And you can have your simple process flow. But each of the activities within your process flow can actually be converted into a requirement. And when you convert it to a requirement, it's now up to the organization or up to you as the BA to say, these activities or these events, I'm going to document them using the user story or the requirement statements or maybe the use case descriptors. But yes, you swim lanes and process flows, they are the concepts or what you use to sort of show the picture of what's going on, the activities, the events that are happening, and how they are happening, across a timeline or across maybe a timeline. Let me keep it that way, across a timeline. Let me not confuse everybody else. So good questions that I can see there. That's like converting the to-be process into user stories. So yes, it's exactly the same thing. So your processes will be converted. You can convert them into user stories or into requirements. So let's talk about why validating your requirements is important. I'm conscious of time now. So when you have your requirement validation exercise, really what you're trying to do is to ensure that the requirement meets the needs of the business and the end user. So you want to be sure that that requirement is fit for purpose. The other thing you're trying to do is to ensure that the requirement aligns with the business objective. So there's no point having a business objective, right? And then having a requirement that does not align with the business objective. If there is a requirement like that, the question you need to be asking your stakeholders, or whoever has provided that requirement is, well, what exactly are they trying to achieve, with having a requirement that does not align the business objectives. So you would ideally want to challenge a requirement that does not align with the business objective. And then the third one is when you're validating your requirements, you want to ensure that the system is going to work as expected. So can you go on mute, please? You want to ensure that the system will work as expected, right? And that's one of the things you are looking at, because at the end of the day, somebody is going to do something with your requirement document. Somebody's going to build something against it. Someone's going to implement something against it. And so if it doesn't work as expected, then it means you've gone through that entire process doing the wrong thing. So there's a question there that can we validate acceptance criteria too? So in a way, yes, because you're going to, your acceptance criteria, which is your definition of done. What I see most BAs do really is they come up with acceptance criteria and they leave it as that. You need to go back, when you're going through this validation process, if you've done that, you need to be sure that that acceptance criteria is actually fit for the requirements that it relates to. And you need your stakeholders to also, confirm that the acceptance criteria is actually truly their definition of success for that particular requirement. So in a way, in essence, you're really validating not just the requirement, but the criteria required for you to be able to say that requirement is right. Because the job of your acceptance criteria is to say that requirement is going to do this. And when it does this, then that requirement has been satisfied. So let's temperature check, because I've been rambling on for a while now. So far, on a scale of 1 to 10, how valuable have you found this training? Just type it in the chat. Let me temperature check. 10, 9, good. 10, 10, 1, 9, 10, 9, 12, 9, 10. Thanks, Yewande. 10, 10, 9, 10. I can see lots of 10s in here. 8, 10, 20. Wow, 10. All right, good. 20 over 10. Oh, wow. Thank you. Godwin, 10. So I thought there was Henry who puts 1. So, Henry, is there anything confusing you so far that made you put in a 1?
It was a mistake. I was going to add 0 to it.
More like add 3 zeros.
That's right.
All right. That's cool. That's cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So,
Sorry, can I
say something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Forgive me if I'm maybe dragging people back. But I kind of feel like even though I do understand quite a lot of the things you've spoken about, sometimes when you go into the jargons, I kind of become lost because it seems like the assumption is that I should know what it is you're talking about, and sometimes I really don't.
Oh, so
If
forgive
you
me
know what I
if
mean.
I've gone through all those jargons or our language, our lingo, because I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you to understand. And that's why I said at the start, I had to tell the BAs in the house that they should forgive me for simplifying things. But what is it that you've heard so far that would have thrown you off?
I'm going to be honest and say that I didn't really worry much at the time. I'm just saying this now just to answer the question of 1 to 10.
Okay.
Because I always felt like, what, worst case scenario, I'll come back to you after the class.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the class goes, the class is good. It's just, I just wanted to throw that in so that maybe you are aware of that.
Okay, thank you so much. And I like that you brought that to my attention. So I'll try my best to tone it down a bit. I get really excited about business analysis. So if I stumble and I talk about technical things, just put it in the chat so that I'm aware of it. I'm monitoring the chat as well. But thank you very much for making me aware of that, Bayo. So
you're welcome.
Let's bring everything together. Everything we've been saying so far. So when we're going through the steps that we've talked about, Kemi says, ask, and ask. Been there. See, Kemi, you are spot on. There's nothing, worse than being a BA and being unable to ask questions. You have to ask, and there's a way to go about that as well. I like that. So let's bring it all together. The first thing we talked about was you being able to get the information, right? And someone said to change the word from elicitation, but it's you being able to obtain the right information from your stakeholders. All right, Stella, good stuff. I'll send my details later. It's you being able to get the right information from your stakeholders. That's very key because the right information will set you on the journey, the right journey, as you move along. So getting the right information is key, and there are ways that you go about getting the right information. And someone Kemi was only said, ask, and ask again, and that is one of the way. In fact, that's about the only way to get information. Ask, right? So remember that. And then the next step we talked about, was for you to be able to structure your information. So when you get the information from people, you want to be able to put it in a way that helps you, the BA, to be able to make sense of it. And so you have to structure that information in a way that allows you to start putting things in the order that they belong to. And then we talked about the decision, and that decision really is more about decision making for you in terms of the information you've captured from your stakeholders. So if you've captured it, you've structured it, are you able to make an informed decision with that information, or do you need to go back, right, and get some more information from your stakeholder or stakeholders? And when you go back, you still have to put it through that whole structuring of the information. So when you decide that it's the right information you have, or that you can make sense of that information, that you can do something with it, you then want to model that information. And when you're modeling the information, I talked about using concepts, things like, someone said process map, which is one way to model the information you have. Another one might be something called a context diagram. And it's just what it says on the tin, putting a diagram of the different aspects of that particular information to make sense for you. And you'll be looking at people, process, information that is used or that will be used as a result of that information you've gathered from your stakeholder. And then when you model that information in a way that makes sense, you want to be able to break it down. Remember when I said when you're breaking down your requirements, it has to be so small that somebody can pick each one of your requirements and do something with it, right? So you have to break down the requirement. But it also makes sense for you as well, because when you break down the requirement, you can start to see if there's anything wrong with that requirement, if that requirement can actually fulfill go towards fulfilling the objective of the business and the objective of the project and the objectives that the end users want to be able to get for being able to do that requirement or being able to do that project. It all comes back to the same thing. And when you do that, you want to be able to prioritize your requirements. You want to assign importance to each of your requirements. And assigning importance, I said, allows you to see the things that, one, we can focus and develop or build against or implement, but it also helps you to see things that maybe can be fulfilled with other things. Maybe you don't really need those things and you can probably push them apart or push them aside. Right. So when you prioritize things, it also helps with when it comes to money, because if you're delivering a product, right, and you want all the bells and whistles, it might be more expensive than a product where you focus on the key things. And then maybe with time, you gradually improve the things that you want from that product. And then when you're done with all of those things, you want to be able to present your information back to people. So there's a question, please, could you help me more information when getting access to you? Okay, yeah, I'll talk about that. Thank you very much. So when you do that, you want to be able to present the information back to those who gave you the information in the first place, right? So you've done all this piece of work, this hard work on a simple information. Well, I call it simple because at the end of the day, information is what it is. You're obtaining information from people through conversations, through wish lists, as some people called it. And you are going through this whole process of trying to get the right level of detail from that information. And so when you go through that whole process, you want to present it back to the people to say, this is what you've given me. This is what I've made out of it, right? You said you wanted a flying car. And based on questions and sessions and repeating, breaking things down, I've now come to understand that what you actually want is a very fast car. So fast, it feels like it's flying. And so you need to present that information back. And when you present the information back and it feels like, there's missing information, there are duplicates, you've duplicated several information that could be, maybe you need just one, but you've got the information from different people and they've said it to you in different ways. And through the analysis stage, you didn't realize that they were different. You might get your stakeholders saying, well, this can be done with this. Why are you repeating it here? And so when you go through that whole process and you find that there are things you need to do about your requirements, you want to go back, to model the requirements again. Obviously, you've missed the point. Or it could be that you presented all the information and they are missing, requirements. So you want to be able to get that missing requirement and go back through the whole process of modeling it, breaking it down and doing all the good things. And when you're done, you want to be able to document it in a structured approach, right? And so when you're doing the structured approach, I said there are three formats you could use. The first one was your requirement statement. The next one was your user story. And then we have the use case descriptors. And somebody had already, used use cases as well to document requirements. And when you do all of that, you want to be able to validate the requirement with your stakeholders. And when they validate the requirement, basically what happens is they sign off on the requirement, they baseline the requirements. So now that I've sort of put this all together, I just want to, where are we? For those are there still people that are confused? Or do we get a sense by bringing it all together to see how the picture works for us to be able to take, that first simple step and expanding it, or to see the effect of that first simple step in what you are doing? There's a question.
What you put, I make it look easy and simple so far.
It makes it look easy and simple. Well, at the end of the day, we all know that nothing is really easy or simple until you've done it so many times and it becomes second nature. So for some newbies, right, some new BAs, it looks simple, but it's a structured approach. If you follow a structured approach for even complicated things, like sometimes you buy products from IKEA, right? Maybe a table, a study table, you buy it from IKEA. They'll draw the diagram and then they'll tell you all the different pieces. That's a typical requirement document. And you'll be the one to fix the chair or the table based on what you see in the requirements. So baselining just means you've got the final version, you've got the signed off version of a document. So you bring it back to a baseline to say, this has been signed off, let's do something with it. It's approved document. So like I was saying, your table from IKEA might might be very difficult for you to fix. But when you follow the process in the IKEA documents, they tell you the screws to use, the legs, where to put each one of them. Eventually, you'll be able to complete setting up your table, and it will be a very solid table. It's the same thing with, any career, or even steps in doing certain things. All right. So before we continue, I think it's important that I show appreciation, because all of you have stayed through, the entire, the talking for the last, say, 1 hour. It's not quite 1 hour yet, but because we started a bit late. So I'm going to really say thanks to all of you, at this point. So I appreciate you for staying so long. Time is very valuable, and it's the valuable asset for everybody, especially on a Friday. And I know that once you spend time on something, you can't recover that time. So I really appreciate you. And really, at this point of the presentation, there's simple information that you can take with you and actually start looking at how you can put it to practice. Practice makes perfect. That's what they say. And I think it's true, And so I think with the information, and I'll be sharing a lot of this with you later on, you can actually do something with it. Yes, this high level information will come in handy when preparing for interview. I kid you not, So, but if you're actually interested in taking your requirement management skills to the next level, right, so that you can make a significant improvement to your business analysis skill set, because it's not only BAs that write requirements or have a structured approach to work, because you can apply the skill set of a BA in other areas. If you're looking to build your confidence and command the high paying salary, some of you said, yes, it's the money and all of those things. And I think you should stick around, but really, if you stick around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a way or an offer that will help benefit you and take you to the next level, right, with your requirement writing skill. So really, if you are, prepared to be very serious about taking your BA to the next level, getting that money, like how I got my £500 for the first time in my early days per day, and I went almost crazy, then I think you need to stick around. And this because I'm going to share something with you shortly. But if you think, you got enough from this session and, you want to jump off, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. But for those that stick around, let me just walk you through something, okay? So what I really want to do really is I want to be able to show you how you can develop or significantly improve your mastery of requirements management, really in as little as 30 days, following a step-by-step approach. And so what I'm going to share with you really is a 4-week step-by-step online training program, okay? And the online training program is going to talk about all the things that we spoke about now, but at length, in more detail. We can't do justice to what you'll be doing as a BA in 1 hour. So the training program will be able to do justice, in as little as 30 days, provided you're able to follow a structured information like the IKEA table where you follow the step-by-step process. And even if you're looking to interview for a role, it's something that will come in really handy when you're talking about your approach to documenting or writing requirements. And so what I'll be sharing is the process we use at Hamilton Berkeley, which is my consulting firm. And it's also the process that I've used when I was working as a BA for other organizations. Now I manage BAs in my organization. So it's that process I'm going to be sharing with you. And to make it even worth your while, I'm going to be dropping lots of goodies as well, okay, so that you can go out there and do great work. So the first thing I'm going to be sharing with you to be able to get is the complete online program on how you can manage requirements effectively. And then the second thing is the bonus that I'm going to add to that for you is how you can join a part of our elite program, elite BA community. And also for those of you that have stayed, how you can get access to business analysis toolkits. But I promised something as well. So I'm going to be talking about how you can also get the question bank that you can use, as well as your interview guide and lots more. But let me ask you this before we get to all of those. How many of you have taken a course in school or in uni, that you don't even use today? I did. I studied accounting, but today I'm not a business analyst. And as a business analyst, I've not done anything finance related. I look at finance numbers if I'm working with a finance business partner, but I've never done anything finance related in BA. So how many of you, have gone to uni or taken a course somewhere and you probably haven't used it. You hear courses that are talking about social sciences and geography, environmental sciences, all those type of courses that might not be used in today's environment that we're going to use. And we end up paying about £8,500 for a master's degree, which you may end up not using to do work, especially if you are going to be a BA. Or some of us end up paying about £10,000 per year just to, for our first degree. There's nothing wrong with that, but all I'm just saying is, sometimes we go to school to learn these things, and you find that you come out of school and you want to be something else. In my own case, I didn't want to be an accountant again, even though, I've got the qualification. I'm a BA because it pays me and I can add more value. And, what about what you could potentially earn? You've not used your algebra till date. I mean, I know SOHCAHTOA and all those things. I know that, right? I haven't even used that. I'm surprised that I remembered SOHCAHTOA for some of us that did. It will come in handy one day. Tell me when that day comes. And what about, what you could potentially be earning as a business analyst? Some of us are probably not there. Some of us are there and have exceeded that point, But out of curiosity, what type of salary would you want to earn if you're a BA? Just put that in the chat. What type of salary would you want to earn if you're a BA? 170K, yeah. 500 per day, yeah. 70,000 per, yeah. Absolutely. And I've seen a lot of people, that earn way more than that. 600 per day, correct. There are lots of people that earn way more than that. Way more. As someone is putting £1,000 per day. Yes, there are people who earn £1,000 per day, but there's a way around it. Some people do 2 jobs at the same time and they earn £1,000 per day. Some people do 1 and they get close enough, 750 per day. That's achievable. 500 per day, achievable. Someone says, I have a first degree and a master's degree in business management. Both recently I've just done a Scrum Master certification, still job hunting and experience hunting. So your Scrum Master certification will help. If you're looking to jump into this area of business analysis, your master's degree in business management would help. It will give you a general background of how the business, organization works. But in terms of what you need to deliver as a business analyst, you'll probably need something a bit more than that. Okay. So what you guys are really telling me really is that some of us are willing, domain experience is important. That's true, but not always true. Okay, you need the opportunity to even get into the domain in the first place to get the experience in that domain, right? So if you've never worked in banking and you want to get an experience in the banking sector, you need to be given the opportunity to go there first before you can get that experience. It's the same thing, domain expertise, domain experience. It all boils down to the same thing. So what you guys are really telling me is that some of us are willing to pay $8,000 a year for a course in uni to learn about stuff that we're probably never going to use again. Right? But you're also telling me, you're also agreeing with me that at Business Analysis Mastery, you're going to be learning stuff that you need to earn a fantastic salary. I mean, some of you have told me that, giving me 10 and so on and so forth. So if you're talking about the online program and all the goodies, would it be fair to say, let's charge £10,000 for a course? I mean, some of us have paid to learn nothing from uni today. And you've agreed that you've learned something here today that can improve your earning power. Earning power is very important. So is that a fair price? It could be. But the reality is that even if I'm going to do something for you, I'm not going to charge you £10,000 or £5,000. I'm not even going to charge you £500 because I want you to be able to do something and move forward with it and make a difference for yourself as quickly as possible in as little as 30 days. Right? So right now, just for £197 only, for those that are serious and sincere about moving forward, you're going to learn way more in a shorter amount of time for a fraction of the price. So if you think that this is a fair deal, right? Exactly, only. If you think this is a fair deal, just type yes. If you think it's a fantastic deal, what I'm talking about right now, I want you to type in yes. I think someone has said only. Yeah, someone is... Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So too good to be true, right? So remember, I'm not just giving you the course of mastering user requirements, right? Today, I'm also going to be giving a 45% discount, which is why we have it at 197 pounds. So I'm giving it's a 45% discount on the price for the mastery user requirements. But I'm also throwing in for free the access to the online community. I'm also throwing in for free, the templates that you can use, the checklist, cheat sheets, questions, as in when I say questions, lots and lots of questions. I'm throwing that in for free, which costs about £250. But I'm going to throw that in for free. And for those who are able to take action within the next 20 minutes, there's more. All right. So for those who are able to take action quickly, I'm also going to give you what I promised earlier, the interview guide. And that interview guide contains 15 of the most asked interview questions, toughest interview questions for BAs. And here's the trick. If you're able to take the questions and the answers from there and model it, we talked about modeling today, there's nothing stopping you. So yeah, the interview question has it has the 15 interview questions that you would have, that you potentially ask when you are going for an interview, and how you can get through that. Someone wants a CV prep. If you want a CV prep, there's a different course for that and a different program for that. Reach out to me and I'll talk to you about how to get that, the CV prep and all that. Okay, that's a good question. So I've got Williams, who is one of my, I've got lots of wonderful BAs that they make me so proud every time. Williams is a senior BA now, and he's also come through this training like most of us. He was not a BA prior to that time, but Williams is, when I have conversations with him, I'm always pleased. I'm always excited with him. And, what he said is business analysis mastery is by far the best for a reason. The experience was, in one word, magical. The experience was, in one word, magical, and he was able to get the best experience ever with business analysis mastery. I'm not going to read through all of that, but I also have EB. EB is, she's excellent. She went from very little knowledge about business analysis to a significant amount of knowledge about business analysis in a short space of time. Now, don't get me wrong; these people worked their socks off, right, and they are reaping the reward. And then there's Dami. And then we've also got Biodun as well. In fact, Biodun is leading a team where he is now, and he's using a lot of the materials from our training program to lead the team at work. Okay, so there are so many other BAs who have gone through, some of the processes that we're talking about today, and they have become really good at what they are doing. So for those who would like to take action right now, to benefit from the 45% savings, to get the questions on how to ace your interview, get the business analysis toolkit, get into the business analysis community for just £149. Yeah, £149. I know. I need you to go to this website now, bit.ly/save 459. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this link and put it into the chat for you so that you can click on it. Right, for those of you who need to be able to click on it. So tell me when you've seen it. So I need you to be able to go to that link. Oh, yes, you can pay now. You can pay now. Just go to that link, bit.ly/15 now. And so this is what I want you to do, because the first 10 people to do that, I want to give them an extra goodie as well. So when you've done that, type your name so that I know those that have gone through that, okay? So I can get the extra bonus. And while some of you are busy enrolling on the course, I just want to open the floor up for all of us to be able to ask any questions we have, so that I can answer some of your pressing questions now before we close for the day. I know some of you want to be able to reach me after today's session. So the best email to reach me will be support@bamastery.com. support@bamastery.com. No, I don't do Scrum Master classes. I just said Scrum Master class is a good one for you to have. So I focus purely on business analysis because I want to be able to ensure that when you go through a BA training, any of the business analysis training with me, you get the best of the best, right? So I don't focus on other things like Scrum Master or project management or testing. There are other people that will do that, but I focus on BA, and this is where my skill set is. So it's bit.ly/save159. Okay. Please let me know if the link is working. Someone has just said the link is not working. That's interesting. So let me just do a quick check. If you're having troubles with the link, can you let me know, please? Oh, Ken, is it working now? Okay, so thanks, Kenny. Yeah, or you can click on that link directly. It will take you directly to the page. Thanks, Kenny. It's working. Good, good. So if you've gone through it, I just need to know the first 9 people so that I can talk about the goodies that I'll give them later to them, and reach out to them in the community. So I'm waiting to see if anyone's got questions while we're going through enrolling on the course. Any question? Oh, well done, good stuff. That's number one person gone. So Shakwa, I'm going to reach out to you all individually, and I'm going to talk about the goodies that you'll get as a result of taking action. I like to reward people for taking action very quickly, so I'll come back to each one of you. So that's one person down. So any questions so far?
My question is, if you need to do other aspect of business analysis, how do we go about doing that? Because this is just the beginning. This is the first aspect.
Yes. So this is just one aspect of business analysis. Give me 1 second. Let me just reply to Larry. Larry, it says 349, but if you look at the bottom, it tells you that you're getting a bonus or a discount of £159. So please check the amount at the bottom. It's not 349. So, sorry, your name is showing as Tony Arumire. It's showing as me. So I need to know what your real name is, if you don't mind. Kenny, you've gone into as well. Who just asked the question? I can't see your name. It's showing as Tony Arumire. So what's your name? Just your first.
My name is Paula. I'm going to make a payment for the requirement. I don't know why you show your name though.
Yeah, so I think for some reason Zoom shared my link, or maybe I shared my link from Zoom, my personal link. I'm not sure what really happened, but there are a few people who logged in earlier, and their names were showing as Tony Arumire, but they were able to save that, change that. So so we do have a specific course called Business Analysis Mastery, which is completely different from the user requirements training. The Business Analysis Mastery focuses on what you do step by step when you get on a job. And that's completely different from this. And so with that, we have a community where we do weekly coaching sessions for those who come through that Business Analysis Mastery. We have a weekly coaching session with students. You take the online course, and every week, like today is supposed to be one of the coaching session, but we're using that coaching session to discuss with everyone about user requirements, making this an open session to the public. So there's a different training for that. It's called the Business Analysis Mastery. And if you're interested in that, reach out to me as well. And perhaps if you're taking this course, I might be able to do something for you.
Yes, please. That's why I want to find out. Maybe I can do all of them together. Maybe it's going to be cheaper that way.
Okay. So it doesn't really matter, but I'll do something for you.
Okay.
If you go through this, I'll do something for you as a result.
I'll make a payment for these now.
All right. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So Lanre, are you still having a problem with your payment page? It shouldn't show you 349. Well, it will show 349 as the cost of the course. But remember, I said I'm giving a 45% discount to everyone who is signing up today on this call. So any other question?
Yes.
Sorry, your line is breaking.
Me.
Your line is breaking. I can't hear you.
Yes, I'm in transit. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm in transit. So I don't know how long I have to pay.
Okay, so for some of you that are having challenges, especially those that are in transit, the line is still going to be open tonight, so you can still, when you get home tonight, you can still make that payment at that amount. So it's going to be there, so you don't miss out on the bonus. So for the next 24 hours, everyone who's having difficulties with paying today, you will have access to still being able to make the payments online. So we're going to leave it open. Let's see. I'm just going through all the questions. Okay, so let's see. So Kola, can you email me directly at support@BM Mastery, and then I'll pick that up with you. We might be able to find a way to work that out for you. So just email support@BM Mastery. So let's go back to everyone. I just want to, temperature check, because it's important that we take away value from today's session. So please, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being no value at all and 10 being good value, I just want to see how much value you've been able to take away from today's session. So just please put it in the chat. I need to know, so that it helps me to do trainings like this in future for other people looking at other aspects of business analysis. Anna is still 20 over 10. Henry is 10. Amaka is 20. Eugene is 50. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. 1,000 from Fumi. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think Lanre is still having an issue with the step. So Lanre, I'm not sure what you can see, but I'll share I think Kenny shared the direct link. So I'll reshare that link as well to be sure that you are seeing you're seeing the right thing. So I'm going to reshare the link Kenny sent. All right, so give me a second. Let me just. So some people, I think some people are having issues with the link. They're seeing they're seeing £349. It shouldn't be £349. So let me just have a quick look and see what's going on. Who else is having that same challenge? Fumi is seeing 349 too. Okay, let me just quickly check what's going on, and I need to make sure that everybody still benefits from that, because I promised you it's going to be up for 24 hours. So give me a second.
Okay, I was trying to make a payment. It was coming up with an error message.
What's it saying?
It says 500. We're sorry, but something went wrong. We've been notified.
Okay, so maybe it's traffic going to the site. Okay. Let me just double check here.
I'll just try to use the direct link now. I'm seeing the same 197 because I tried to pay using PayPal.
Okay.
So I'm seeing the actual price that is being offered for.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Who else is having? Because I want to be sure that we all get what I've promised. I don't want anyone to get to not benefit from it today. I like to keep my promise.
I couldn't do it.
Okay,
I put my card details and everything.
It's still saying 349.
It's taking me to the side though. I can see the courses and things. Okay. I'm not sure. I put the card details successfully, but it went to an error message page. Then I've called business analysis with your picture on it. I don't know what's happened really.
So I hope the site is not having issues because of number of people jumping up at the same time on it. But I'm having a look. I'm having a quick look to see what's going on. So just give me a second.
It says I've been added to the community, but it didn't show any. It didn't say that I've made a payment. It came with an error message. I submitted the credit card details. Well, no problem, but it didn't acknowledge payment. It came up with an error message, but I'm seeing a notification that says you were added to the business analysis mastery community 2 minutes ago.
That's interesting.
Let me see if the money came out of my account though.
Okay. Looks like there's quite a lot of people having the same issue. I think Shopper has been able to get through. Kenny has been able to get through. Ola has been able to get through. Who else?
I'm Ola, but I'm not sure that I'm that one because you didn't give me confirmation.
What's your last name?
Libero.
You've gone through.
Ah, okay. I had an error message. You didn't give me a receipt.
Oh, so you should get something in your email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I think, yep. I'm not sure why others are having that challenge at the moment.
Yeah, it's gone through my credit card. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that you've gone through.
Thank you.
Yeah. So who else is having still having the issue? So if you're still having that issue, just use the link, the bit.ly/save159. I'm typing it in again because this will take you directly to the bonus, right? For some of you, it could be that you're going to the direct page for the direct payment. So I've typed it in again for everyone. Lanrick, if you're still there, can you try and Jacob as well, can you try the link that I've just put in there, bit.ly. Fumi as well, try that link. Let me see, who else? Fumi is also, okay, so yeah, so let me just know if you get it.
Okay, I'm in a site now and I can see the toolkit and I can't see the interview techniques though.
Yeah, that's extra bonus I'm going to put in for you. Yeah.
So should we see free stuff, free things?
Yeah, you're definitely going. So the community is there, the toolkit is there. You're going to get the template for the Q&A, and I'm still going to add a few things for those that took action very quickly.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is, because a lot of people said they had challenges with joining. Okay, Larry says the link is working. You all will benefit from the freebies. So by tomorrow, you should see a few more things in your portal, your student portal. So Larry has gone in. I'm glad, Larry, you've been able to get in. Fumi is trying as well. The link works now. Yeah, good. I think Jacob too is going to be trying now. And to reach me, I'm going to put my email there again. All right. So, Larry, this training is you taking it at your own pace, but then you also have within the portal the ability to ask questions. You'll also have access to the community, so you can ask questions as well within the community. I jump in there, from time to time as well with everyone. So I throw in classes in the community too. So you're going to see some specific classes that you won't get outside anywhere else, but they will be in the community for you. So that's one of the benefits of being in the community. Anyone else? All right.
What kind of help can you get within the community? What's the limit?
No, there's no limit to the help you can get in the community. You know, you can interact with people. I mean, having said that, though, if you are at work, for example, you get a business analysis role and you need help, you know, you want to put it into the community and people will be able to jump on it to support you as well. You know, so if it's as long as it's BA related, you will get the support you need.
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of interview questions or in preparing for interview or an interview task, because I have an interview task. So I'm thinking maybe would that be helpful? I don't know.
So you're going to get some things with the interview questions that I said, the question and answer session. When you get that, you'll see what I mean by it's going to help you, because there are some things in there that you ordinarily wouldn't see. And there's something that will help you with some interview tasks as well. So be on the lookout for it tomorrow.
Okay. Because I've got one on Monday. Thank you.
You got one on Monday. Oh, wow. Yeah. Don't worry. We'll help you through that.
I wish I bought this earlier.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. So I want to be very respectful of people's time. I know it was supposed to be for an hour, and we did experience a few technical difficulties along the way with getting people to log in. But I'll keep the website open for the next 24 hours. So if you have the link, you should be able to go there within 24 hours. Otherwise, if you're struggling, you know, just send an email to support@BA Mastery, and I'll send the link to you so that I can make that payment and still benefit from everything that I've promised today. The materials are super helpful, guys. Thank you very much, Shala. That's wonderful. That's another one. So at this point, you know, I want you to go and enjoy whatever you have for tonight. It's been a great pleasure working with you all here, walking you through my process and seeing how you've all engaged. And really, I want to be able to help you to take your business analysis career to the next level. Now, I said there's another training for how you will do your work, but if you're interested in that, email me separate. So that I can walk you through what that looks like and what happens in that one. But for those of you that have bought this course, tomorrow you'll see a few goodies in your student portal, okay, to say thank you for taking action. So thank you so much, every one of you, for joining the session. Have a wonderful Friday. Reach out to me, Facebook, anywhere. Check me out on LinkedIn, connect with me, and send me emails if you need any other support. So have a wonderful weekend, all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.